Ruth's story was written around 2,500 years ago. In the Bible as we know it, it appears as a pastoral interlude or maybe a bridge between Judges, which is full of chaos, fighting and misfortune, and Samuel, which moves towards stability and the start of the prophetic tradition of priests and kings, which leads to David. We have used places around the chapel and in the fields nearby to retell this ancient story as it might be told in today's language. Because the world of the story is not such an unfamiliar world. There is inequality between men and women in opportunities and economic power. Women are economically dependent on men and defined by their roles as wives and mothers. Sex and power are linked and played off against each other. As well as discrimination against women, there is discrimination against foreigners and migrants. There are laws to protect people from poverty, but they don't completely work. 2,500 years on, things are not as different as you might think. So, here are a few thoughts and questions. We use a dry twig in a vase and later heads of barley in a vase to reflect famine and plenty in Bethlehem. The main part of the story happens at a time of plenty, and Boaz makes sure that Ruth and Naomi share the riches of his harvest. But their lives and their actions are driven by the fear of poverty and hunger. Comfort and safety are fragile things, and that can be hard for those of us who have never known anything else to understand. What must life be like if everything is at risk all the time? That's part of life as a migrant in the story. Society offers some help. Ruth is entitled to pick up the grain left over from the harvest, but it's not a lot of help, and it's not easy to access it. She's safe in Boaz's fields, but not everywhere. How must it feel to be different? Are there people living among us who will be lost without our help? What does that mean for us? The story throws up familiar questions about women and what we would call agency. Naomi fits some of the mother-in-law stereotypes in old jokes, but is she oppressed by what life and society throw at her, or is she an oppressor in her dealing with Ruth? Is she a practical person who acts to get what she wants, or a manipulative schemer? Is Ruth someone the story happens to, or is she making things happen for herself? And when Boaz finds Ruth under the blanket with him in the barn, is he exploiting Ruth or being exploited? Can we think of Ruth as a good woman? What do we mean by that? We use a rose in the vase when we're telling the parts of the story that deal with Boaz and his relationship with Ruth. It's a traditional symbol of love. So, is this a love story in any way? Would we think of what Ruth does as being different or better if she did it for love? Where does love fit in with other things that matter in life? Money and property and safety. If Ruth is cared for because she's an attractive young woman and not because she's a refugee in need, does that make a difference? And what comes from love? How do we come to belong to each other? What's the significance of being a family from generation to generation? Is that more important than other relationships? Can you be a mother or a father to someone you didn't give birth to? Lots of questions about love. And questions too about God. People in Ruth's world call on God a lot. They bless each other when they meet and they ask for blessings on each other. But in the tapestry of the story, there are just 2 points where we see thin threads marking God at work. And it's as creator, making food grow and making a child grow in its mother's womb. Many things seem to happen by chance or because people decide them. So, where is God in the story? Does God make a difference to us? Do we make a difference to God? How does God judge Ruth? Does God judge Ruth? Does it matter that Ruth and her history are part of the family tree of Christ?